Is losing not in your vocabulary? Are you willing to outwork everyone in your next contest but need the right guidance? Drop those bad contest prep strategies and let New York Muscle Radio guide you on your journey to the stage. Whether it's your first show or you're going for that pro card, get a leg up on the competition with individual customized contest prep strategies. Visit NewYorkMuscleRadio.com and click on that coaching tab to get started.
New York's very own muscle building coaches, Anthony Bevilacqua and Pete Kacharian, proudly present to you New York Muscle Radio.
What's up, guys? New York Muscle Radio, episode number 99. One away from the big 100. It's your host, Anthony Bevilacqua, alongside my co-host, Big Pete Kacharian. And today we got a special episode for you, a podcast titled Powerlifting for Women. We got on a special guest today, Leda Emmons. She's going to come on and we're going to talk powerlifting and, you know, how women can get bulky. So, anyway, what's up there, big guy? How's everything with you? Yeah, man, I'm good. Oh, just good? What's the matter, man? Yeah, I'm a little tired today, you know, but I'm excited for this episode because this is going to be a cool one. Yeah, it is going to be a cool one, man. She's really knowledgeable in her stuff, this girl, so it should be funny. Should be a good one. Definitely a good one. So what's going on with school, man? You still in school? Yeah, man, this is my last week of school, bro. Oh, last week, man. I remember those days. I would love that last week of school. Yeah, well, you know, just bringing my meals with me to school and eating them, and that's it. Training hard. You know, I'm excited for this week's training with you. You know, it's to see what you give me. Yeah, this week's gonna be a rough one, big guy.
Oh man, I couldn't sit back too long, man. Anthony is clearly skilled in having a conversation with himself.
Yeah, so a lot of people apparently can't tell the difference between our voices, so we decided to fuck with everybody who doesn't know the difference in our voices, and I had a conversation with myself for the first 10 minutes.
Did that pretty good, might add. I gotta, my hat's off to you.
Yeah, that was tough because I'm watching you laughing in the background, so it was hard to do.
You definitely had a few people going for a little bit. Definitely.
Yeah, I don't understand how people don't tell our voices apart.
I don't know. I mean, I don't really think we sound that similar. I think just people outside of New York just hear the New York accent, and that's all they pay attention to.
Yeah, the sauce and the almonds.
Yep, sauce.
Almonds.
I like almonds.
I love almond butter, man. Oh, man, almond butter.
Almond butter on the oatmeal.
If you could choose between peanut butter or almond butter, which one would you choose?
Almond butter.
Yeah, man, me too. A lot of people say no to that. People who are real peanut butter, you know, they eat them out of the jar.
You know what I like about almond butter? You could put it on like...
Oh, the can, I'm sorry. They eat the peanut butter out of the can.
Yeah, the peanut butter out of the can. But the almond butter, you could put on... I like to put it on sweet potatoes. I like to put it in my oatmeal. Peanut butter on sweet potatoes doesn't really taste that good. In the oatmeal, it doesn't really taste as good either. It tastes okay, but just almond butter is a little more creamy and doesn't have that peanut taste to it. So it just adds good flavoring to it.
And it has a better aftertaste, I think, the almond butter.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I like peanut butter by itself for like on a rice cake, but that's about it. I eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches too, but I don't like to add it on top of stuff. Like people have stuff and just put a scoop of peanut butter on it. Like, I don't like that.
Oh yeah, like an apple or banana?
Yeah, like yeah, I don't really do that.
I was never into that. People can eat peanut butter out of the can, and I can't. I never could. Never was into that. I could probably do almond butter out of the thing though.
Almond butter is good. For anybody who hasn't tried it, you definitely got to have some almond butter.
Did you ever have any of the other butters, like the I think it's sunflower butter or sun butter, something like that? No,
I've had cashew butter.
Yeah, I've had that before. It's good.
Surprisingly, yeah, I thought it was gonna taste a little weird, but I like cashews.
Yeah, cashews? Isn't it cashews?
I don't know. I call them cashews.
Cashews?
I'm sure that's not how it's pronounced.
Oh, it's actually funny. When I first started lifting, a bodybuilder in the gym was like, you know, yeah, you have to eat cashews every day. That's how you really gain mass. You know, just eat a handful of cashews with every meal. So of course I went out and I did that, and of course I had to ask him, you know, what kind, because there's so many unsalted, salted, you know, this one, that one, and he's like, no, unsalted, because you can't have all that sodium. And you have to have a handful with every meal, and that'll help you grow. Needless to say, I didn't grow, And I actually, you know what? If I was to do that now, I probably would get the higher sodium one because I'd probably see more benefit doing it with the higher sodium.
Yeah, you would have been better off. At least you get the extra sodium in.
Yeah. But these are the things we went through, man.
Yeah, this is no joke. This was like, and it was serious too. Like,
Yeah, it was
if
dead
someone started
serious.
telling you that today, you would just laugh in their face. Like,
Yeah.
come on, man, seriously, you know. But back then, it was like, really?
Yeah, it's not even a joke. It's true. It's like, wow, that's what I've been missing.
Yeah, it's like, wow, this guy knows the trick right here. Cashews every meal. You know, you can't have them between. You can't have them between meals
Yeah.
either. It has to be with every meal.
Exactly. Unsalted, because salted, forget it. Gains lost.
Oh, not bad. High blood pressure, you're gonna die.
Yeah. That's it. For the first, I would say, wow, up until maybe about a couple years ago, I never really added any sodium to my food, like at all. Like it was just a habit. I was never into salt just growing up, and it's just crazy. Only until recently have I really been adding salt to a lot of my foods, and it's made a big difference in my pump in the gym.
Yeah.
And my vascularity as well. Because one thing that I never really had a lot of was vascularity. I'm not, I guess, a genetically vascular person, but I think it's because my blood pressure is so low that my veins just don't pump out.
Yeah, I mean, I notice a huge difference when I salt my foods and when I don't. But I salt everything. I probably oversalt, but I eat pretty clean, even though I'm a flexible dieter. I eat junk and whatever I want here and there. But most of my food is generally pretty clean and has very little sodium. So if I don't salt my food, I'll probably be deficient in salt. So it's actually, sorry, I'm burping over here. It's actually better for me to salt my food from even a health standpoint. And everyone's afraid, oh no, don't put salt on your food. Well, you know what? My food's pretty low in salt. If I don't get enough of it, I'm going to be deficient in it. So
I wouldn't be surprised if in my first 8 years of doing this that I was salt deficient. I wouldn't be surprised.
yeah, I mean, because I added it up one time and I was consuming without adding any table salt to my food. I was like barely breaking 2,000 milligrams.
Yeah, I believe that.
You know, and if you're a bodybuilder and an athlete and you're sweating a lot and you're doing cardio and you're weight training, you're going to want more sodium than that for sure.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the shout-outs portion, bud. You got the shout-outs today, so go ahead. I'm going to let you take the reins.
I have a couple, and I have one. I have to make this one a little bit of a special shout-out because it's a funny story. This is one of our listeners she's been listening since, I think, pretty much day one. She's contacted me many times on Instagram, and she had asked me for a shout-out months ago. And I said to her, of course, I'll give you a shout-out on the next show.
Yeah,
and
everyone knows how Pete Kacheri is.
She sent me a message maybe a couple of weeks ago and said, or maybe a couple of months ago again, and said, hey, I'm still listening. I never got the shout out. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll give you on the next one. So she just messaged me last week or something, and she says, you still owe me a shout out. So I said, you know what? You're right. I told you 3 times it was going to be a shout out. I promise you it will be on the next podcast. So I have to give a special shout out on this one to, and hopefully I say her name right, since this is a prolonged and overdue shout out. But shout out to Anna Samoas. She's a listener. She is I'm not sure where she's from, to be honest with you. She has a bunch of different flags on her Instagram. And I believe she's from Brazil, though. I believe she's a Brazilian listener. So shout out to Anna.
Wow,
hopefully,
we're international now, my friend.
I get that correct, that she's from Brazil. She's been listening since like day one. So she's a loyal listener. And then I had another one that was on Instagram. You might have gotten this too. I don't know. Did we shout out Christopher
Robin?
Alty? Christopher Robin. If he listens to our podcast, then we know we're big.
Yeah, Christopher Robin from 100 Acre Woods with Winnie the Pooh and Tigger and Eeyore. Yo, why was Eeyore always fucking depressed, man? My daughter puts on Winnie the Pooh, and fucking Eeyore is always like, I'm like, oh man, what the hell? It's a kid's fucking thing.
Yeah,
He's always depressed.
The kids gotta understand the dynamics of humans and relationships. There's always somebody depressed.
There's always one.
Yeah, they gotta understand. Okay, there's gonna be one person in the bunch who's not like everybody else. He's a little depressed, you know.
Exactly.
But yeah, shout out to Christopher Alty, I believe. He wrote us a message on Instagram. He said, what did he decide? He wanted to wear his tank top to the gym, and he said that he wasn't comfortable for a while, but fuck it. So he's posted his picture up, said he's going to the gym wearing his tank top, and shout out to New York Muscle Radio, AB Fitness, and Jacked Fitness.
Yeah,
so
that was
shout
me,
out
man.
to Christopher Alty.
Yeah, that was me. Always embarrassed of having the arms out at first.
Yeah, so you see, you're not alone, man.
I'm not alone.
We're all insecure at one point,
All right,
and some of us never goes away.
Yeah, definitely. I got some shout outs here on my Instagram at AB Fitness. BS Cully. He says, you guys are exactly what I needed. I'm competing for my first show in 15 weeks, and I've been looking for a pure bodybuilding podcast forever now, and I finally found one. Thank you. And he says, could you also please give me a shout out? And then I said, sure, man. He goes, you're the best. I also got a shout out, Justin Capuzzi. We answered his question in a different episode, but shout him out again. Let me see. Inked Lords on Instagram. He wrote, hi Anthony, I just wanted to basically say thank you for being an inspiration to keep pushing and working for the end goal. I started listening to the podcast a couple months ago and now I'm hooked. You guys keep putting out real good information that helps with everyday dieting and I'm loving it. I just started a 16-week challenge and I'm 4 weeks in and have a lot more determination, and with yourself and Big Pete are helping with that, so thank you. That was a cool one.
Yeah, I mean, we seem to be just getting more and more people reaching out to us, telling us that the podcast is helping them. And that's always awesome, just to know that the stuff that we put out there not only entertains people. I mean, that's cool. A lot of people say they get entertainment value out of it, but the fact that they take the information and it helps them reach their goals is even cooler, you know?
Yeah, that's funny, Anthony. You got confused for a second.
You're confusing me now.
I'm confusing you. Yeah, I want people to really get fucked up and confused. But all right, guys, if you guys want to shout out, head on over to facebook.com/New York Muscle Radio. You can like the page, comment, or you could follow us on Instagram at AB Fitness and Pete's at Jacked Fitness, JAKKED Fitness. And we'll give you a shout out live on the podcast. Or you can even leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. We really appreciate that. But in order for you to get a shout out, you have to make sure you share this podcast with your friends. Tell everybody about New York Muscle Radio. The first rule of New York Muscle Radio is tell everyone about New York Muscle Radio. So let's move on now to the listener question of the day. So again, if you guys have a question you'd like us to answer, you submit it on our website, newyorkmuscleradio.com/listener question. So this one's submitted by Todd Peterson, and he says, reporting live from New York. Love you guys. What are some good pre/post-workout foods? So thanks, Todd, for that question. We answered this one pretty much in episode number 82, which was the 10 meals for muscle growth. So you could go back and check out that episode for a more in-depth answer to that question. But I would say anything that fits your macros, one, and basically things that you like. If you can't work out on a heavy stomach, really full stomach, then have something light pre-workout. And, same thing for post-workout. If you feel, nauseous or whatever, you're not hungry post-workout, then don't eat a big meal. I usually like something a little lighter before I work out, and then I'll have a big heavy meal after my workout.
Yeah, I like that too. To answer the question pretty generally, it depends on two things. One, if you're training in the morning, and the other thing it depends on is how soon after you're eating this meal are you going to work out. The closer to this meal that your workout is going to be, the lighter you're going to want it to be. You're not going to want to have a huge heavy meal if you're going to work out within 30 minutes of eating. It's going to be sitting in your stomach, so you're definitely going to want it lighter. If you're eating 2 hours before you go to the gym, then you might want the meal to be a little bit heavier, so you can feel a little fuller, and then by the time you go to the gym, your stomach's not completely empty. And then generally post-workout, I like to have a big meal, more or less. But then again, it depends, like I said, on when you're training, and if you're the type of person that likes to eat big dinners and you train in the morning, then maybe you're, as far as fitting your macros in your post-workout meal, you might not want to make it the hugest meal. You want to just have enough to basically hit your protein and carb requirements for that meal, save the rest for the day. So it depends on those two factors.
I don't know, man. Maybe it's the bro science in me, but I love to have a nice big post-workout meal.
Oh, always.
It's like a reward, man.
Always. I mean, regardless I train at all different times, and I always base it where my biggest meal is my post-workout meal. That's me personally.
Lately, mine has been smaller than normal, but I don't know. It's just something about after a workout, sitting down, having a nice big ass meal. Oh man.
Because that's all gains right there. That's what it is.
It goes directly into the bicep. You could actually see the piece of chicken that you're eating go up the vein into the bicep.
Okay, now don't freak out.
You ever see that clip?
Yeah.
It's on.
He's like, don't freak out.
Yeah.
He's like, I know these are the biggest arms you ever seen.
Yeah. Don't freak out when you see these biceps. All right, man. So let's take a short commercial break, and we'll be right back. We'll get Leda on the line. Leda. Do you remember when wrestling was big? The wrestler Leda with the Hardy Boys? Did you watch wrestling like that?
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah, every time I hear the name Leda, doesn't matter where it is, that's what I think of automatically, the wrestler, the girl. She had it with that red hair. I think it was red.
Yes. I remember that. That's when wrestling was good.
Yeah, that's when it was really good. Remember Trish Stratus? I loved her.
She was my favorite. I was about to say, man.
She's horrible now,
That's the
though.
one I remember. I don't know. I have no idea.
She's horrible now.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Oh, there's a good old days of wrestling when The Rock was around. The Rock was like the main guy.
Yeah, The Rock, I was a big fan. The Rock, Stone Cold, and I mean, those were my two favorite, I'd have to say. Yeah, big fan of The Undertaker.
I never liked those two, Undertaker and Kane.
The Undertaker was just because, I mean, if you watched the original generation of wrestling, like when it was, when like Vince McMahon's senior, the father, Shane McMahon's father, Vince McMahon, was running it before they switched it to Shane McMahon, it was completely different. Like the Undertaker's been around since then, and back then he was pretty cool.
Yeah, he's an OG.
Yeah, but as far as what's going on now, I have no idea.
Yeah, me either. I haven't watched wrestling in years. But all right, guys, let's take this short commercial break, and we'll be right back. And this episode isn't just for women. So, guys, if you're happening to listen to this, you could definitely pick up some nuggets as far as, because we go over a lot of things with just lifting in general. So, yeah, this episode's maybe geared a little bit more toward females. All right, maybe a little more than a little more. But you could definitely always pick up a nugget from here. So, keep listening, guys. Do not put this down. I will be right back.
What's up, New York Muscle Radio listeners? It's your co-host, Big Pete Kacharian, and I'm glad you're all listening. Put down that tilapia and asparagus. Learn how to get bigger, stronger, and leaner eating what you want. Pick up a copy of Cracking the Flexible Dieting Code exclusively at NewYorkMuscleRadio.com. But for now, let's get to the show.
Are you a fan of New York Muscle Radio's artwork? Do you want a custom logo designed for your personal or professional needs? Then make sure to check out our graphic designer, Mel Ferretto, who not only is an awesome graphic artist, but a pro in advertising, web design, typography, and campaigns. His work resume includes interactive design for the WWE and a graphic designer for Optimal Sports Health Club. Make sure to check out our good friend Mel at Mel, M-E-L, Ferretto, F-I-R-E-T-T-O.com. That's melferrito.com. And again, Mel is New York Muscle Radio approved. Hey guys, it's your host, Anthony Bevilacqua, and I just wanted to announce that my brand new personal training facility is now open. I'm currently taking on new clients in the Long Island, New York area. If you're interested in working with the best personal trainer in the business, head on over to abfitnesstrainer.com and sign up for your free consultation. Then you can understand why bodybuilding.com has named me Personal Trainer of the Month. What's up, guys? We're back. New York Muscle Radio, episode 99. And today, we got a special guest. One of our listeners actually is on here. We've connected via the podcast a lot of podcasts ago. I forgot how she even came about, but I remember seeing her pictures on Instagram. I was like, wow, this girl actually knows what she's talking about. So, guys, welcome on Leda Emmons. Leda, what's up?
Not much.
How's it going? How does it feel to be? It's going to be weird when you listen to this.
Yeah, it's already kind of weird right now. I'm like a little fangirling.
I remember Leda because she was one of the first ones to call us out on the voluminous conversation that we had.
Yeah, you're one of the teachers that always yells at us.
Yeah, well, whenever you guys were saying it wrong, I was just sitting in my car like, come on, guys. Come on, let's get this right.
Wonderful. So tell our listeners a little bit more about you. How did you get involved in fitness, and how did you get involved in powerlifting?
Well, it was about 2.5 years ago or so. I was actually on Instagram, and I saw these people eating Pop-Tarts and donuts and things, and I thought, man, why can't I eat those things and lose weight? So the whole IIFYM flexible dieting thing kind of really got me into fitness. And so after that, I kind of started to shred down, and I started lifting weights. And then I work with another teacher. He's a 55-year-old Hispanic male. And in his younger years, he was a power lifter. And so we would work out together once or twice a week. And he was like, Leda, you're really strong. You should start powerlifting. And of course, little old 100-pound me was like, no, I can't do that. But he was really adamant that I was strong. So December 2014, I competed in my first powerlifting meet, weighing in at 101 pounds. I didn't put up any really impressive numbers, but that was kind of my start. And from that very first meet, I absolutely fell in love with powerlifting.
So you competed in powerlifting pretty much right from the beginning then, right?
Pretty much. I had kind of lifted off and on before that, but I was never serious. And even after that first meet, it took me about 6 or 7 months to really figure things out because, like I said, I was only 101 pounds, and my idea of fitness was being lean and shredded and having abs. That was like the ultimate goal.
I have to stop you for a second because everybody makes fun of our accents on the podcast.
Oh,
but
here we go.
You definitely have an accent. Where are you from?
I'm from Texas.
Yeah, we could hear that. Oh boy. All right, so pretty much in the beginning, what was your routine like then? So what were you doing like really when you first started?
I was doing like a typical bodybuilding body part split. I didn't know anything about lifting. So I went on bodybuilding.com and I started following Jamie Eason's Live Fit trainer, and that's kind of where I started initially. And after that initial kind of getting into fitness, that was probably in maybe January of 2014. So this is about a year before I actually started competing in powerlifting. Once I figured out that I needed to find a powerlifting style program, I started with Jim Wendler's 531.
Did you like that program?
I did like it, but I got kind of bored doing the same thing over and over and over. About after my my third meet, my second meet, I ended up bombing out on bench press. That was in May of 2015. And it was because, like I said, I'm weighing 101 pounds. Now, granted, I'm competing, in the 105-pound weight class, but diet and training and things weren't on point. I still didn't really know what it meant to be a power lifter, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And I had been following YouTube fitness for a while, and the idea of bulking came up. So I thought, well, if I want to get stronger, I need to gain some weight. But once again, I just wanted to be lean and shredded and have abs.
It's funny because for most women, that word bulk alone kind of makes them shudder. So I guess that's pretty much why you bulked up. But tell us a little bit about that bulk, because I was pretty impressed when I first saw those pictures. I remember telling you about that big guy, her transformation there, but the opposite transformation, she bulked up, which never happens for a woman.
Yeah, I actually had to reach out to a coach. I started working with Chelsea Carabin. She's Chelsea Lifts on YouTube. And I had to pay someone to tell me to eat more, which is crazy. But mentally, it was the only way I could go about bulking. And at first, I was just so nervous to do it. I was hitting my macros to the gram. I was zeroing them out every single day. I wanted to be perfect, but I also increased my output. So I was going for walks and I was doing all the cardio that she had prescribed to me. I was just making sure that I was active because, again, I was gaining weight, but I knew I was going to gain weight. So I decided that I was going to post my journey on Instagram and also on a women's Facebook group just to show everyone that it was okay to be a female and to gain weight. And in the process, I was going to put on some body fat, but I was also going to get stronger. And it just kept me motivated and kept me accountable. So it was my first powerlifting meet of my bulk. Chelsea said, Leda, after you weigh in, you have a free day. And I was like, what do you mean I have a free day? She goes, I don't want you to count your macros. And I was like, what do you mean you don't want me to count my macros? Like, tell me how many things to eat. She goes, no, eat whatever you want. And I ate everything. And I didn't even feel bad about it because she said, fuel my body. And that's exactly what I did. And going into the meet the next day, I actually, of course, PR'd all of my lifts, and I qualified for nationals, which I'm competing at in 5 weeks. I'm 5 weeks out now.
That's awesome. What organization is this?
I compete in the USPA.
Okay, nice.
So
I'm curious, when you were at that bulk stage, at the height of it, what were your calories and macros at? How high did you go?
They were glorious. So I started, I ended my bulk at 115 protein, 45 to 50 fat, and 375 to 395 grams of carbs.
Isn't that so fucking impressive, man?
That really is, and I'm glad that you're mentioning that, because females are petrified of going anywhere near those numbers.
Oh, it was the best. Every week, my fat and protein pretty much stayed exactly the same. Just because I tend to eat a lower fat diet, when she wanted to add in fat, I was just like, I'm not hitting that number. So we just kept carbing up. And at first it was difficult. I was like, I don't know what to eat. But then, ice cream, cereal, more ice cream. It was just amazing. And I thought, if I'm going to put on weight, at least I'm going to enjoy it. But I did enjoy it appropriately, and I was meticulous about my bulk. And I gained about 14 pounds in 8 months.
So you bulked up from about 100 pounds to around 115-ish?
Yes.
Okay, and then I know you dieted back down, because I think you're around. I follow you on Snapchat, so I think you're around 100, right?
I'm sitting right now at 104. So I lost about 10 pounds in 9 weeks or so. I've actually lost a few more since I started reverse dieting. But the only reason I cut, because I fell in love with my bulking body. I really started to like all the curves that I saw and the strength gains that I had made. I didn't want to cut at all, but I needed to get back into my weight class well before nationals. That way I could reverse diet back up into a small surplus heading into nationals, so I could, of course, regain some of the strength that I actually didn't lose during my cut.
So after you went through that whole bulk cycle with your carbs that high and your calories that high, did you find that coming back down, dieting, that you were able to diet on more calories, that your macros were a little bit higher while you could still lose body fat?
Well, I feel like we cut pretty quick. A 9-week cut and losing a pound a week for a female who's my size, I would say that was a pretty quick cut. So I ended my cut at 1,500 calories. But again, being only 105 pounds, that's more than what they recommend as, at 10 times body weight. So I know people who are cutting on, 1,200 calories that are bigger than me. So yes, I was able to lose fat and eating higher macros.
Yeah, for your weight, that's actually a decent amount. There's plenty of females that are, in the 125, 130, even 140 range that have to even dip below 1,500 calories.
And so here in the last 3 weeks of my reverse diet this week, for some strange reason, I'm eating 1,800 calories, and I've already lost another 1.5 pounds.
It's funny how that works, right?
It's insane because my carbs have been increased about 70 grams a day, and my weight is still just trickling off.
It's funny because we talk about this in our audiobook, the Maximizing Your Metabolism, and exactly what you're saying is exactly what we say in that, because it's almost like magic, and you have to go through those stages, especially in powerlifting too. You're going to feel so much stronger when you're a little bit heavier.
Absolutely. And the other thing I did when I started bulking is I started working with a powerlifting coach. My coach, Gary Hunter, I'm going to plug his Instagram. It's GHunterChamp23. I think that's what it is. GHunterChamp, actually. Okay. Anyways, he wrote me a personalized powerlifting program, and it was amazing how well he knew my body and the numbers that I could hit. And every week things got, progressively heavier. And he added well over 100 pounds to my total, during the first initial 3 or 4 months, when I was bulking. And it was wonderful.
So most women think that going heavy will make them bulky and too muscular. So we know that you lift heavy. And what has that really done for your physique? Has anyone ever told you you're going to get too bulky by doing this?
Well, I recently ended a 2.5-year relationship, and he was afraid that my shoulders were going to get too manly. And,
what an idiot!
Exactly.
Wait, so it was 2-year relationship?
2.5 years, yeah.
So yeah, it was like a short lease, like a car lease. You got to get rid of him after that amount of time.
Exactly. And he said, "Oh, I liked your body whenever, a few months ago. And now that you're getting shredded, your shoulders are getting manly." I have very capped shoulders for a female, and I happen to think they're very sexy.
I kind of feel like he's like one of those memes on Instagram, the ones that say "Oh, your boyfriend doesn't lift," something like your boyfriend does CrossFit. Does your girlfriend even lift? Something like that.
Well, he didn't even lift, so
that was your first mistake. That was your first mistake.
It was. I should have known that from the beginning. I don't know what was wrong with me, because this is really important to me. So, but anyways, lifting doesn't make you bulky. It doesn't make you look manly. Go look at my Instagram. You'll see I don't look like a man. I look very feminine. It has filled me out in all the right places, and especially during my bulk, I looked extra feminine, because really, when I still stayed very lean, but I've got curves and I put on fat in just the right places.
Isn't that, do you notice that doing certain exercises kind of helped you in that sense? So I guess for example, what type of exercises do you think are mandatory in order to get that to happen?
Squat. Squatting is going to build your lower body and just give you a nice curves down there. I went from squatting, once a week to squatting 3 times a week. And then, of course, bench pressing and deadlifting, because those are, my powerlifting movements. But any of the compound movements, if any lifter could just learn at least bench, squat, deadlift, and a row, maybe a pull-up, the foundation for any routine that they decide to do.
Is it safe to say that the squat is your favorite lift?
It's becoming my favorite. I'm actually a fairly good deadlifter. I hold the USPA women's push-pull state record.
Wow, look at you.
For my weight class. And so my deadlift at that time was only 248 pounds. So it's gone up since then. So I always get hyped for deadlift. I'm really nervous. I'm kind of nervous to squat, and I'm deathly afraid of bench pressing. Even though I'm not bad at it, I can bench press my body weight, and I think that's pretty good for a female.
I actually want to back it up a little bit, because we just mentioned something that I think is a good topic for debate. As far as squats being one of the best exercises, there's definitely no argument there. You'll always see this, especially on Instagram. You want that booty, you got to squat. You have to do squats for booty, and I think squat is definitely a mandatory exercise. But for females who genetically don't have the best glute development, sometimes I find that if they're more quad dominant, squats might actually not be the best exercise. Deadlifts might actually be a better choice. For you and your experience, what do you find as far as the difference between squat and deadlifts for glute development? Do you think you need to do both of them? Do you think it's more dependent on your genetics, your structure? How's it been for you?
I absolutely think that you should do both of them. I'm a sumo deadlifter, so I get a lot of glute and hamstring activation during the sumo deadlift, and I think that has been a big part of building my booty. which I'm very proud of, but I cannot wait for it to be bigger. But so definitely deadlift has helped a lot in the growth of my glute development.
It's so funny because like normally if you ask like just a typical gym goer female, what exercises do you like to do? And you'll hear like, leg lifts and crazy stuff like the glute machine, like random things like that. But squats and it's true. You laugh, but it's true, but squats and deadlifts are two basic movements. The hardest movements to learn are the ones that are really going to reshape your body. I mean, we've said this so many times before, but it's kind of nice to hear from a lady to say that.
Every so often, in my program, at the very bottom of it, my coach will throw in hip thrust or donkey kicks or something that typical females like to do for their glutes. And when it comes down to it, at the end of my workout, if I skip anything, it is one of those things. Probably because I'm already tired. I've been, in the squat rack for over an hour and doing all kinds of other accessory work. That's just the one thing that just has to go.
So what role does powerlifting training have for women to reach their physique goals, do you think?
I mean, I guess it depends on what your physique goals are.
Well, I mean, for women, I think that mostly I would say it's kind of similar. They all want the hourglass kind of a shape, so.
Well, squatting and deadlifting are going to build up your lower body, and bench pressing is going to give you a nice upper body. Along with bench pressing, you're doing overhead pressing, and that's going to grow your shoulders. And it just, I guess, depends on the kind of program that they choose to follow and how many days a week, the frequency in which they're doing those lifts. Obviously, if their lower body is lacking, they should squat and deadlift more. I would keep deadlifts in the lighter weight and like a light day and a heavy day because your back has to recover from that. But a lot of women complain about not having nice arms and their shoulders. So incorporating an overhead press in with your bench pressing, I think is going to work on that. I have no complaints about my physique. I feel like my physique is very well-rounded. Of course, I always wish I had a flat stomach, but I think that's all females.
So do you think that for a female that's trying to, build a little bit more muscle to their frame, that it would be more of a benefit to focus their training programming on progressing in those lifts? Or do you think as long as they're weight training with these big compound movements that they'll get the benefits they're looking for?
I think both, and I think if they're trying to progress in those movements, they'll take their focus off of what their physique looks like. The biggest thing for me in my mental shift in what fitness was putting my goals more on how strong I was versus what I looked like in the mirror. So if females can transfer to that other mentality of getting stronger, the physique will come with it. And your mind will just be so much more at ease and at peace when you look in the mirror.
Pete, it's funny. We spoke about this on other podcasts before, but we always talk about like a beginner nowadays, when someone starts, how they're off to a great start. I mean, look at her, and she's proof in the pudding right there. Like, she started right off the bat with a good progressive program, and look, she holds a record, in powerlifting. So it's just funny how when you apply the right information right away, right from the beginning, how much you can progress in just a short period of time. Like, this is a girl who wasn't brainwashed into, you have to do only cardio. I mean, we're going to get into cardio later on, but a typical female who may be listening to this just does hours and hours of endless cardio and barely works out with weights, and that's not going to get a female anywhere as far as physique development goes.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about starting with the right mindset and the right program, and that's what she's doing.
That mindset shift, though, and gaining weight, that's really hard for females, but it's the only way that you're going to get stronger. And once you cut down again, you're really going to reveal all that muscle that's there. You're going to be so much happier with your body composition if you go through at least one bulk and cut cycle and really do it justice.
when you were at the height of your bulk, so I guess like your quote unquote heaviest. I know it's probably not something nice to say to a woman, but at your quote unquote heaviest, were you like really uncomfortable?
It actually wasn't my heaviest. The heaviest I've ever been was 123 pounds, but it was a whole lot of fat after a summer of drinking. This is before, obviously, I started lifting. But at my heaviest in this bulk, I was 114.
Oh, this was when you were dating that girl. I mean, your ex.
It was a few exes ago. At 114, I was starting to get like a little uncomfortable. Like clothes were fitting a little tighter, but they were actually fitting a little bit better because all my clothes had always been too big. But I could feel not as lean anymore. As much as I loved my bulking body and I wanted to stay there, I knew I needed to lean out, but I'm ready to get back there and see kind of how far I can push my weight up before I need to cut down, staying in like a reasonable body fat percentage. But I wasn't ever super duper uncomfortable. But it's just different when you're lean versus when you're at the peak of your bulk.
Exactly. And I'm just trying to put be a woman who's listening to this right now, and they're saying like, is this girl crazy? Like, I don't want to gain weight on purpose, because that's just how mentality of most women is. But for the simple fact of the matter is, gaining and going through a bulking cycle that actually, one, helped your metabolism out, and two, helps you gain a lot of muscle, which in turn helps speed up your metabolism, helps you look better. And I don't think a lot of females realize that.
Well, once you go through that first bulking cycle, it is the most mentally tough thing that I've ever done. And then once I lost the weight, I thought, oh, well, that wasn't too hard. Let's do this again. I know that I can gain the weight and I can do it in a responsible way. I'm not going to just pound, all kinds of fatty food all the time. And then once I get to where I think that is a good body fat percentage where maybe I should probably start thinking about cutting, I know how to cut and I can do it again. And next time I'm going to do the whole process on my own without a coach. I'm still going to keep my strength coach, but I'm going to no longer need a macro coach.
So what does your routine currently look like now? Like your weightlifting routine?
I strength train 6 days a week, 3 upper and 3 lower days. Currently, I just started a peaking cycle, so I'm going to we've cut a lot of the volume out. And we're going to be doing a lot of triples, doubles, singles, kind of getting my central nervous system acclimated and working up to, the strongest I can be right before the meet. But so I squat 3 days a week. I bench press 3 days a week. And on 2 of my squat days, I also deadlift.
And you train at like 4 o'clock in the morning, don't you?
I did. I was telling you about breaking up with that ex. Well, along with that breakup came me leaving that apartment. So the 4 o'clock in the morning Snapchat good mornings you're no longer going to see. I moved in. I feel like such an idiot. I'm 29 years old. I moved in with my brother and his wife and their baby. And to kind of get my life together and figure out what I really want, kind of in the next step. And so the gym is about 15 minutes away, and it's just not realistic to get up that early, drive to the gym, drive back home, and then go to work. So I've been training after work now, which it has its pros and cons.
Yeah, the gym's probably packed after work.
Yes, and I am not one to want to wait on using equipment.
Yeah, I totally understand that. But
so
you don't have to feel like an idiot, that doesn't mean anything, it wasn't meant to be. So you got to move forward. You have a lot going on in your life, it seems like right now. So just focus on the good and everything else will keep coming. You'll find a new guy at least. So what's a good weight goal that a woman should strive for in the squat and deadlift and bench in order to get a quote unquote better body in your opinion?
If you can squat 1.5 times to double your body weight, and deadlift double your body weight, and bench press your body weight, I think you're doing pretty good. I think you're doing very good, actually.
Yeah, I think that's good for someone who maybe just wanted to be just in powerlifting. But what about just overall just to get a better body? Because, you sometimes you talk about these numbers to women and they like freak out. Like, I can't squat that,
Well, I was the same way.
Yeah.
I never, for the longest time, would only squat 95 pounds, which is was close to my body weight. I was afraid to go heavy. But that's only because I didn't want to like fail on my squat. Like I didn't want to lose the rep, which isn't that scary once you've done it a few times. If they can squat their body weight, they're doing good. I think that everyone is capable of doing that.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a good goal. Definitely, if they could do more, then more is going to be better. But two times body weight is definitely that's a pretty big goal. And I think, if you could get up to that, that's definitely going to show in your physique.
Oh, absolutely. And my personal goals are a 1 plate, 2 plate, 3 plate. So I want a 1 plate bench, a 2 plate squat, and a 3 plate deadlift, which equates to 135, 215. No, 135, 225, and 315.
I'm sure there's a couple males at the gym too that have the same goal.
Are you one of those guys?
I'm sure it was at one point.
I don't know. The idea of just being able to bench what I call a big girl plate, it's just going to be like probably the most exciting day ever.
I don't know. For some reason, when we're just talking about a plate, I'm thinking about when we curl and we use the plate and we put that on. My goal is to do 2 plates. That's the goal.
To curl 2 plates?
Yeah, to curl 2 plates.
That's impressive.
Well, what did we get that day when we competed? When we did the...
I think we won up to 205, right?
Yeah, so it was close.
Yeah, almost.
Golly.
Close.
You can just curl
Did you just say
me all
golly?
day.
Did you just say golly?
Yeah.
Oh, man, you're really from Texas.
Born and raised.
So most women who go to the gym, generally they focus on cardio and less on weights. So how does cardio fit into a powerlifting training program where the focus is more on the heavy weights?
If you ask most powerlifters, they're probably going to say cardio. What are you talking about? And a lot of the times I say when my coach gives me more than 5 reps, he wants me to do cardio because for a powerlifter, more than 5 reps is like cardio death.
That's for sure. A heavy set of 8 on squats is definitely cardio.
Oh my gosh. When he has sets of 6, sets of 8, 10, I'm like, what are you doing to me? Even at 135, which is a super easy squat for me, sets of 10, I'm like, you have got to be crazy.
Yep.
I don't think so. I'm not used to like that squatting like that. But cardio, my macro coach has me doing cardio just purely for staying healthy and keeping cardiovascular health. So I'll do 15 minutes of HIIT once a week, and I'll do 90 minutes of LISS or low intensity steady state cardio 3 times a week. So I'll do like 30-minute sessions like post strength training. And if anyone wanted to do cardio, I would say incorporate HIIT training because those high intensity intervals are going to be really good for your cardiovascular system, which I guess is the purpose of doing cardio, just to be heart healthy.
Do you cut the cardio out closer to a competition?
She'll cut out my HIIT cardio, but I'll still do LISS. I'll just walk like on the treadmill. A lot of that is for pure enjoyment purposes. I'll just walk on the treadmill and watch YouTube. Because I'm such an active person, I like to be moving constantly. So I'd rather walk on the treadmill and read a book or watch YouTube than sit on the couch and do it.
So going back earlier, you mentioned how you're really good at the deadlifts and you like deadlifts. So for powerlifting purposes, you either use a sumo or conventional stance, and obviously use which stance fits better for your body so you can lift the most amount of weight with. But for physique purposes, for a female, is there one that you would say is more beneficial than the other?
I feel like I started out as a conventional deadlifter, and I feel like it built a really strong back. My erectors are so strong, and they're pretty prominent on my back. But I think the sumo stance is actually better for your glute development, in my personal opinion. So I would think that a female would probably want bigger glutes and not such a, prominent back. So she probably would want to do a sumo stance. But again, it really goes back down to which one you're most comfortable in.
Do you think the sumo carried over to your squat as far as strength goes? Because you said it helped you with your glute development. So obviously your glutes were getting stronger. And since squats are one of those exercises that you seem to struggle with a little bit, do you think there was a lot of carryover for that exercise for you?
I think there was, because my squat is actually the lift that I've made the most progress in. Before my bulk and before I started working with a coach, my squat was 160. And at my last meet in March, so not even a year later, my squat was 205. Okay. So whether it was the extra calories or the right kind of programming or the sumo deadlift, not sure which one of those it was, or the combination of all three, but they definitely helped my squat.
So now, in your words, if a female is listening to this and thinking about competing in powerlifting, what advice would you give her to get started? Because it can be a little overwhelming for people, especially for women, because I don't want to get bulky, blah blah blah. So what advice would you give her?
Well, I've actually had a lot of females reach out to me through my bulking progression and cutting progression on Instagram and Facebook, and I told them to get on a powerlifting program. So whether it be Strong Lifts 5x5 or Jim Windler's 531, go in that direction, or Google some kind of powerlifting program and just get started that way. And I actually met my best friend through powerlifting. She wanted to do a powerlifting meet, but she was nervous, and I was like, just do it. I'll sign up. I'll do it with you. And she realized like how fun it was. It's just one of those things where you have to just go and do it and put up some numbers and have a good time, because the next time you come back, once you kind of have one meet under your belt, you're going to PR all your lifts from your first meet. You don't have to be the strongest lifter at the meet that day. You have to be the strongest you.
It's so funny. I always tell this to people. When you're on a powerlifting platform, you can literally squat the bar and people will cheer for you, and that's like the most exciting thing with powerlifting versus bodybuilding. I mean, I've done both, and powerlifting for me is just so much better of a sport. There's a lot more camaraderie. There's a lot more action too, especially for people who come and watch. Whereas bodybuilding, it's not that much fun.
Absolutely. The camaraderie you build with the other lifters. I've never been around such nice women as I have when I'm at a powerlifting meet. There's nothing catty about it. Everyone wants everyone to do a good job. They're cheering for you. When you come off the platform and you PR'd, they're high-fiving you. They're just as excited for you as you are for yourself, and regardless of if they're in your weight class or not, because ultimately it's really, as cliche as it sounds, it's you versus you. It's you and the weights, and no one else really matters. Exactly. Yeah, you want to win your weight class. You want to put up the best Wilks score. But it's really about just being your best you on the day of that meet.
So what's your long-term goal in powerlifting? How far are you going to take it?
I don't know. After Nationals, I'm going to compete one more time this year as a 105-pound lifter, and then I'm going to bump up a weight class. I'm just a little bit too tall to compete at 105 pounds. I'm 5'3". So I have very long legs, which I can put on probably a lot of muscle to those babies, and that means I'm going to have to weigh more. So I really want to hit the 1, 2, 3 goal: 135, 225, and 315. But other than that, I'm not really sure where I'm going to go after this with powerlifting. Just Nationals is my focus right now.
Well, we wish you lots of luck in your competition, that's for sure.
Thank you.
All right, so again, thank you so much for coming on. We really, really appreciate it. And ladies, you heard it here first. Bulk up. Don't be afraid to eat. Take control of your nutrition. Utilize coaches like me and Pete, or, resources like Cracking the Flexible Dieting Code and Maximizing Your Metabolism to really bring yourself to that next level, because it's definitely possible. Don't sell yourself short, and don't listen to what the magazines and the media tells you should be doing. The bottom line is, if your training is good and your nutrition is good, you're gonna look unbelievable. So, Leda, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it. Where can the listeners find out more about you?
I'm on Instagram. My Instagram handle is ldmorgan09. You can follow me on Snapchat. My Snapchat is lemons with 2 M's 09. And you can follow me on Facebook, Leda Emmons. I'm not very active on Facebook, but I'm on there.
And you post up a lot of food stuff, huh?
Yeah, I'm definitely a foodie. I like to eat. I like to eat a lot. If I had more calories, I would eat a lot more food. But tiny female problems.
In Texas, you got all those big foods. You got the big steaks. What else is down there in Texas? Texas is known for their big things down there.
Steak, barbecue, all the delicious things that being a tiny female, you only wish you could eat.
What about those big desserts? I don't know if they're donuts. What are they? Isn't Texas known for having something like that, like a big donut?
We do have amazing donuts, but if we're known for them, don't tell me about it, because that's all I'm going to want.
All right, big guy, it's your turn.
All right, guys, this is Pete and Anthony with Leda Emmons, New York Muscle Radio, and we're out.
Enjoyed this episode of New York Muscle Radio? Make sure to hit that subscribe button, leave us a 5-star review, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, New York Muscle Radio.